Yeah, my back hurts, I'm hungry, I really want a milkshake, and I'm hot. I'm going through it. Hey guys, it's Kayla Sierra, and this is part 3 of a series that I like to call Book versus Movie, Who Did It Better? We are going to be concluding the Hunger Games series with a double feature of Mockingjay and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I decided to do both of these books at the same time because honestly, I don't have a lot to say about either book. More so, not much to say about Mockingjay. I have a lot more I can expand upon with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I was just like, let me save myself some time. Give me a breather so I don't have to edit 2 different videos and I can just put them together. So normally I tell you guys at the end whether I prefer the book or the movie, but I'm going to tell you that at the beginning. So for Mockingjay, and honestly guys, I was recording this video a couple of hours ago and then my phone died. So I was able to have a bit more time to kind of research both books and kind of really reflect over both of them. And now, before my answer was I prefer the movie, but I don't know now. And it's kind of crazy because of course we all know Mockingjay is in 2 parts. So I'm like, I don't know. I think my answer still stands that I prefer the movies. And I say that also knowing that the book does hold a lot of weight. It's written very well. It has really great themes and like how Suzanne just like really evaluated each of them and expanded upon them. I don't have many bad things to say about the book, besides the fact it is dark and it is a little depressing because, I mean, Mockingjay in general, like even like the movies, this is probably the saddest story of all like the books. I feel like The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, like yeah, those have like its sad elements, but Mockingjay, she was like no mercy with this book. And I feel like with Mockingjay, there are a lot more differences between the book and the movie than the other 2 movies, or maybe it's the same amount, but for me, I feel like it's more for some reason. One of them being that when they got to District 13, how they were like so strict over like the food, that's not seen like in the movie. Everybody got the amount of food based on whatever like their job was or whatever like their work schedule was. That's how much food they got. So imagine you have maybe a lesser physical job. You're gonna get less food than a person who has a more physical role, which, I mean, if you think about it, sure, it kind of sort of makes sense, but people's bodies work differently. And so just because I have a less demanding position doesn't mean I don't need more food. And another thing that's also strange is that Katniss, like her prep team, like they're nowhere to be found in the film. It's actually in the book, it said that like all the prep team, the stylists were executed, even though, and it says they're supposed to be like, it was live, like broadcasted live or whatever, but she never watched it. But Effie's not anywhere, like she's not mentioned until the end of the book, which I find strange because Effie's a rather prominent character within the Hunger Games. So for her to not show up until the end, right before Katniss is, you know, supposed to off President Snow, is a little strange. But, you know, in the movie, she's in both, like part 1 and part 2. She's in both movies. So I kind of wonder why Suzanne wrote it this way and not having Effie be more a part of like Katniss's journey with this. And in the case of the movie, I think that while it has a lot of cinematic advantages, and of course the actors are amazing, and even the technology that they were using, how they were going about like the movie, and when they were going through like the Capitol, how they were kind of finding their way. Oh, great. But what I will say is for part 1, Mockingjay part 1 is very slow. It feels very lackluster in what's going on because there isn't really any action besides the districts and when they start rebelling against the Capitol like harder with Katniss. Like that's really the only oomph of the movie that we get, and that's one of my favorite parts of the film, honestly. That and Katniss singing the hanging tree, those are the only really parts that stick out to me within that film. In the case of Mockingjay part 2, I'm not really sure what I would say sticks out to me about that film, besides, like, it was kind of cool watching Katniss and like the team go out and while they were in District 2, but then also just making their way into the capital. Of course, like I said, Suzanne's kill list was just ever growing, so a lot of them folks didn't make it into the end, which was sad. And we're not even gonna get into Finnick dying, because, or Prim, I don't have the mental capacity for it right now. But, and also I just think the movies, while once again, like, it's really good to have like that visual aspect, I don't think it does much for me. And so in that being said, it's kind of like, okay, so why do you think the movies are better? And I really think the movies are better to me. This is not if I say it's better, that means it's better. No, this is just for me. Having a visual representation for the story is one way for a story to come alive for me. But with Mockingjay in particular, out of all of the other books for the Hunger Games, I feel like is the book that really needs it. Like, the Hunger Games and Catching Fire, I believe, do a good job of telling the story and me not necessarily really needing a visual aspect. Now, I could watch Catching Fire any day, all day, just because the way they took the story and just went bam, amazing, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. With Mockingjay, I feel like since it's the last installment and there's so much going on, but then there's not much going on either, I feel like it's a little confusing. I'm a little back and forth with it, so definitely share you guys' opinions like in the comments. Let me know which one you think is better, or which one kind of tells the story best, because for me, they both do such a great job. I feel like the thing that kind of separates them really is the filmmakers definitely took a different approach to Mockingjay, splitting it up into two, when I really feel like it could have been one movie, and how they handled different aspects of the story as well. And when I said earlier that the book was, you know, dark and depressing, I meant it. Because the movie, of course, with movies, you have to stay within a certain rating. You know, if they're going for a PG-13, it can't be very violent. It can't have a lot of disturbing depictions of death. And so, in that being said, the things that are in the book and how they're described are less violent than they are in the movie. So, I think that might be another reason why I feel like the movie's better. I think for the sake of the story, it's better, a bit more watered down. I don't think it has to be as twisted as it is in the book. But, you know, once again, it is beautifully written. Suzanne and she writes in this way to really get at your heart, because we all know that she's a masterful storyteller, and she doesn't just tell stories, like, she makes real life connections. So this isn't just random. Like, if she steps up to tell a story, she has a reason to be telling this story, which I absolutely love about her. So she did her big one with this. I'm kind of at a standstill. Like, I think I'm leaning more towards movie, but with the right kind of conversation, I feel like I go book. But we're gonna leave this for now, because I really want to talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I will be completely honest. When the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was first coming out, I was actively like not gonna go see it. I knew I was really interested in Snow's story, and also it just felt like, because it was never anything that was really ever touched upon. Like, in the Hunger Games, the movie version, he says that like he's been in the districts before, and I'm just like, okay, like, you are a president, like, you were visiting your country. That's how I took it as. But then to have another understanding of like, okay, no, he's been in the district sort of thing, and then to like find out, you know, there was gonna be the whole singing aspect, and I was just like, Suzanne, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? I had a lot of judgments about the movie, but I did finally watch it, and then I got the book as a graduation gift. So now that, and I have seen the movie several times at this point now, I believe in different ways the movie's better, and in different ways the book is better. That's how I feel about this one. With Mockingjay, it's really just kind of like an up and down sort of thing. They both tell the story really well, but it's more of like a feeling like, like I guess I could kind of whatever. But with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, it's like, no, the movie is better because it has these things, and the book is better because it has these things. So we're gonna start with the movie first. One of the main things that sticks out with the movie version of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is, of course, Lucy Gray, and actually getting to hear her sing her songs and watching the reactions of people and how she moved the crowds. That's one thing, of course, that we don't get from the book because we're unable to hear her voice in the book. I really enjoyed having that as a viewer because anytime it's mentioned somewhere in a book that maybe the female and male character is singing or something, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's really good, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're totally lying. It's an opinion, it's not a fact, because I have nothing to base it off of, and that's just me being silly. So it was kind of like, okay, yeah, like she's supposed to be the songbird, okay, like she's a singer, great. But having the movie, and everybody knows that Rachel Zegler is an amazing singer. Like that girl has a voice on her. Anybody who says she doesn't is a bold-faced liar. So having her bring to life Lucy Gray and her songs was very needed. It wouldn't have had the same impact if the movie didn't have that sort of like strong voice behind Lucy Gray. Another thing definitely has to do with snow. And I was recently having this conversation with a few girlfriends of mine about this book and how when you look at snow in the movie and snow in the book, they are not the same. In the book, Snow is very much cunning, very manipulative, just all the things and how Snow really portrays himself in the other books and movies. That's what he gave in this. In the movie, Snow is a lot more charming, a lot more boyish, and just like he doesn't really understand like kind of what's going on. He just wants to have his family name restored, and of course like to have the glory and the honor and all that whatever. But I think that's the best way I can explain it. He's more boyish in the movie and just kind of like, I mean, I'm just trying to do right by my family, like I said, restore his father's name. The book, it was as if he was already a grown man. It was giving, I'm already shaping in my ways to be a villain. In the movie, Tom, who plays Coriolanus, which I've been known to call Snow Cornelius because he's corny, so, but I'm gonna call him by his government name, Coriolanus. He really depicted him as more young man going through the emotions of meeting Lucy Gray, being in these trials, trying to navigate, of course, wanting to win the Pliff Prize, and then doing what he was doing, ultimately being sent to District 12. If you know, you know kind of how the story goes. In that, it's his journey into being a villain. I believe in the book, he was already in those kind of like mischievous ways, and they just got worse. It's such a different portrayal of Snow, and I really do like Tom's portrayal of Coriolanus in the movie. He did a fantastic job, as did Rachel with Lucy Gray. I think I like the movie version of Coriolanus better because we've never known Snow as like regular, like what his life was. We've never not seen him as bad guy. He's always just been bad guy. So I like the sort of innocence in how Tom played him, and just showing like how he was so grieved as he was going through the stuff trying to help Lucy Gray, but then also with Sir Janus and all of that. And then ultimately at the end, how all of that shaped him into like, you just see like the snap. I feel like he's kind of like a self-made villain. Like no one forced him to be a villain. Him and his own self ambitions and what he wanted, that's what made him into a villain. Nobody did it to that man. You know, because that's one thing that people kind of talk about. It's like, oh no, like this is his villain arc story, like these people did him wrong, Snow was doing these people wrong left and right. At least in the book. Movie, he was trying, but it was definitely sometimes where it was like, you knew it was you. You knew what that was gonna lead to. Like, don't sit here trying to act like you all sad about it, but I digress. Now that I've touched on both aspects of movie and book, but mainly about the characters, one thing I will say about the book is it is very differently written as far as one, the games, but then also kind of how Snow's relationship with Sir Jamis was. And when I talk about the games, I really mean when, you know, the head game master brings down the snakes in the arena, and of course they all get released and Lucy Gray sings the song and it supposedly calms them down. That's movie. Of course we know that Coriolanus, he put like the handkerchief in the cage with her scent on it so they weren't gonna harm her. In the movie, that's when the game ends and they call it off and it's like, Lucy Gray's the winner, hurrah, hurrah. But in the book, after all of that happens, the games still keep going. The snakes don't kill everybody, and I don't even remember, I think the way she wins in the book is she has one of the snakes and she throws it at the last tribute. I believe that's how she wins in the book, but in the movie, the snakes kill everybody. That's how it was supposed to be, because in the book, the whole reason why she put the snakes in there was because the president's son had been killed because of the rebel bombing. I can't remember if in the book the president's son actually dies. I think her putting the snakes in the arena was just as a way to mess with the tributes, as they love to do. That's just one story plot that I found really interesting, because when you bring out the snakes and everything, the snakes hold a very big part, not only just with the headmaster snakes, but then also for Lucy Gray, because as we know, like that's one way when she got reaped, how she put it in the mayor's daughter's dress, and then also at the end, that's how she tries to get away from Coriolanus, which I will get to because I have so many things to say about that. I definitely enjoy the more details we got in the book in a lot of different ways. So moving on to Corio and Sir Jamis. In the movie, Corio's kind of standoffish with him, like doesn't necessarily really care, because a lot of the students from the capital and in the school don't care for Sir Jamis because they were District 2 and then his father bought their way, I should say, into the capital. In the movie, it's kind of like, yeah, like they're not really friends, whatever. But as the movie kind of got going, it was kind of like, okay, sure, whatever, we're cordial. But then once they were in the districts, it was more so like, okay, yeah, we could call each other friends. Because, of course, after the stunt that Sir Jamis pulled during the games, he wasn't finna not be punished. So him going to District 12 with Coriolanus was kind of like that really solidified their friendship. Now, what I will say, in the book, I think it's written the same way. I can't exactly remember, but what I do know is their friendship seemed a lot better in the book, because Coriolanus had numerous times at his house, more so like talking to like his mom and his dad and everything like that. And so when they were in the district, the mom was sending like treats and snacks for them and the other boys at the base camp. So it was really nice also just seeing Coriolanus and the relationship that he was cultivating with the other guys, because Coriolanus isn't someone who is like actively gonna be like out trying to make friends. So I think him kind of building that was really good, and almost like a deter, like he was going in the right direction, but then obviously Buddy Boy came screeching back to the dark side. What I also love is that we get more of the Covey in the book. If you haven't seen, there was like a deleted scene that they came out with where Coriolanus is talking to Maud Ivory before he goes and he finds Lucy Gray in the field. That's after they see each other in the little club, pub, whatever you want to call it, for the first time after the games. And we don't really hear anything of the Covey besides what Lucy Gray says. Like, they don't get much action or have much dialogue in the film. So I really like having those interactions with them in the book, because I feel like it gives Lucy Gray more of a motive and more of a background. And something else I just thought of when I was describing Coriolanus is a very jealous man. Like the scene, oh, this is what was different. Oh my gosh, okay. So when the bombing happens, and in the movie Coriolanus is hurt, and you know, we know that Lucy Gray helps him and but he's in the hospital with Tigress and Sir Jamis when he sees Lucy Gray perform. But in the book, he's actually at the performance and he's there and he sees like the audience's reaction and everything, and he starts feeling a little jealous. One, because of the attention, but then also because of the song that she's singing, because we know that it's about her ex-boyfriend, whatever his name is, who cares. And so he's just kind of like, why is she singing a song about him? And then I'm the one who told her to sing. I'm the one who got her the guitar, and how dare she sing about someone else? And then seeing how people were reacting to her, and it's kind of like, no, but like me, like I'm the reason why she is even able to do all of this. Yeah, he's just not mentally stable, honestly. Like I say all of that. The book version of Snow is not mentally stable in any capacity. And honestly, one thing I really do love about the stories in general is seeing all of the fan theories on like TikTok. Like people really aren't sure and will never know, which actually hurts my heart, whether or not Snow actually does kill Lucy Gray. Like people think that he killed her, and instead of like the guns that he throws into the lake as we see in the movie, it's actually her body. But because he's crazy, he really believes that he put the guns, but it was her body. And then other people are like, no, she actually got away or whatever. Like she made it to District 13 maybe, or she just was hiding out in the woods, which is why Snow, you know, like put up the fence with District 12. And then also people were like, the reason why they do like the little pricking of the finger during the reaping is for him to try and see if there's any like lineage to her. And it's all of these like conspiracy theories, and I eat them up every time I see them because we're never gonna know. Suzanne Collins is not going to give us this information, and not knowing is one of the worst things to experience, which is why we can't know everything. We can't know how the story really goes or how things really work together and what it means to not know whether or not she survived or not. And it hurts. It hurts. But, and also, I think it really messes with Snow, which is what I like most. If we don't know, he doesn't know. And like, I like the theories that like maybe just because he's just so deranged that he doesn't realize that like he actually did kill her and like dumped her in the lake or whatever. I like imagining that he didn't kill her and he really doesn't know what happened to her. I like that more than him killing her, because he doesn't get the satisfaction of shutting her up. Because one thing a Songbird's gonna do is sing her little heart out. And now that I'm kind of bringing up that whole part of the story, I find it so humorous how when they were in the cabin, right, in the movie, and of course, I mean in the book too, because if it happened in the movie, it happened in the book, duh. But the scene when, you know, Coriolanus, he finds the guns, and Lucy Gray is like, oh, I'm the only one who knows, ha ha ha, like I'm the only loose end. And it's kind of like, why would you say that? Like, if I was in a secluded area with a person who I know has lied to me and has killed people before, and he currently has a gun within his possession, like literally physically in his hand, and he knows how to use it, I'm not gonna remind him that I'm the only person alive who knows about what he's done. I would choose better words than that, you know? And then he's like, you're not gonna tell anybody, right? And she's like, of course not. Now y'all, Rachel Zegler, she's a great actress. Lucy Gray is not. Because I probably would have shot her right then and there. Because I don't believe you. And Coriolanus really wasn't sure in that moment. You could tell like if he could trust her, like if she believed him or not. But I'm like, you saw over her. Of course not. Like, ma'am, if you are that scared for your life, you are going to be more believable than that. And then, you know, she's like, oh, I'm going to go pick up some Katniss or whatever. And he's like, I thought it was too early for that. And when I always just imagine, it's the funniest thing ever. Because then he's like, you know, it's still raining outside. She's like, well, I'm not made of sugar. I just imagine as soon as she got outside, she is booking it, screaming. Of course, she's not actually screaming, but in my head, I imagine her screaming, he's got a gun, and just running. That's how I see it in my head. I find it absolutely hilarious. Because, oh girl, she knew that she was about to be next. So she should have ran as far as she could have. But even with that whole thing, like she knew eventually like he was gonna find her, or like she couldn't go back to District 12 either, because like it was either like be killed by the mayor, because the mayor was coming after her just for like the death of his daughter and then the boyfriend or whatever. So she was safe nowhere, honestly. But I made the joke to my friends. I was like, she brought a snake to a gunfight. And then, you know, the whole point when he was like, is this poisonous? I'm like, it better have been. But they got the venom out just in the nick of time. Great. Perfect. It's just like, this girl. You would think after the games you would have been a little bit more skilled. But she didn't really do much in the games. Like, she didn't actively, like, seek to kill anybody. Which, it very much just gave, like, old girl, like, Peyton is like, you're in this war, you have all this stuff to do, but it's like, but you don't want to be a killer. And it's like, you're in the wrong genre if you don't want to be a killer. And I completely understand, like, not wanting that guilt or, like, that weight on of, like, having to take somebody else's life and, like, living with that. For sure. And, you know, it's not in everyone's character. Also, I say that, and I still stand by the fact you're in the wrong genre. Because those kind of characters make me mad. Even, I'm going to use a better example than Peyton. Violet. Violet. Do better. Honey, like, that first book before she thought she killed Jack was like, you're gonna die if you don't murder one of these people. No! Yeah. In Lucy Gray's case, she really wasn't cut out. Like, she wasn't in the world of violence and stuff. Like, she got reaped and of course had to survive, but like, that wasn't her world. I must stop myself before I keep going on these tangents. But like I said, like, I really believe the movie has a lot of good aspects and the book also has really good aspects. If I'm going to choose one, I'm probably going to say the movie, mainly for the fact of I like to hear the songs. So I'm not allowed to say anything else about this book because I have now ran out of storage on my phone twice. So that is going to be the end of my rant about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The Hunger Games series has such a big place in my heart, and I am super excited for Sunrise and the Reaping to come out in November of 2026. Just like that, we are at the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not following me on TikTok or on Instagram, make sure you guys are doing that at Kayla Sierra. I really do love doing these book versus movie videos, so be prepared for many more coming up very soon. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and share this with all your friends. I've been Kayla Sierra, and I will see you in the next video.